Hey there, looks like I am live now on YouTube. This is the first time I've used Restream as a third-party app to go live on YouTube. I know I've used it before, I think to go live on LinkedIn. So I'm going to check my channel real quick and see if I am actually live, if I can see it. But the reason why I can tell I'm live on here, I'm just making sure I'm connected to my YouTube channel. Otherwise, I'm just talking to myself. So I don't know how I can tell. If you are live, if you happen to be here live and can see this on YouTube, drop me a comment. It looks like I am. I'm going to do a record. I don't know what that's going to do. Record all your streams. Let's see. To unlock automatic recording. I'm just on the free plan. Okay. This is the first, like I said, this is the first time I've done invite up to 6 guests. Oh, we'll see what happens. It appears to be, but I can't tell on my computer looking at my YouTube channel if I'm actually live. So how can we figure this out? I've never had this problem before. Looking to see comments. I can't tell. Live streams. Let's see if this is working over here. It says scheduled. Oh, yeah, I guess I am live. All right. I'm live. I just happened to see it. There's a duplicate there. One that I had scheduled must have been a different way. Okay, see, we're just playing. We're testing. We're figuring it out. No worries whatsoever. So the title I had for the live stream, and apparently created a brand new one in the process, was YouTube thumbnail feedback, channel reviews, and Q&A, just in regards to YouTube. So I know that through conversations, especially over the last week, there have been a lot of questions that have come up around YouTube in general, just using it, in particular around thumbnails. I've gone live before where I've done channel reviews and had a couple people take me up on those, but thumbnails seem to be the sticking point right now with people. And I completely get it. I'm not a designer by any means. So I do the best I can with helping individuals with their thumbnail designs. And it ultimately comes down to the type of video you have, what the goal of your video is, what I want to say the emotion of your video is. For example, I was talking with someone recently, and the title was along the lines of something that was more like thought-provoking or kind of like, like interesting, like you'd have a face like, okay, versus the photo that she had associated with it was her standing still with a big smile, which was a great photo, but the emotion didn't match the theme or the topic or the mood of that particular video. So that's one of the things that I've struggled with in the past, is about what picture of myself do I use on the thumbnail, and should I even be on the thumbnail? Now there's differing thoughts on this depending on, people who have over 1 million subscribers and have been doing this for, decades. Well, at least 2 decades, because YouTube is 20 years old this year. And it didn't start out as a video platform like it is today. It actually started out as a dating channel, or as a dating platform, which is pretty funny. But that was something that I struggled with too. And then there's just different ways that you can create your thumbnail, really looking at like, what is the hero of your thumbnail? Is it you? Is it the topic that you're talking about? Is it a word? Is it a transformation? Is it an emotion? Like, what is it that should be like the highlight of your thumbnail? And so what I've done with mine is just simplified them, which is the best thing that you can do. Now, am I saying mine are ideal? Probably not. There's always opportunities to improve. And plus, I do them myself. And like I mentioned at the beginning, I am not a designer. And if we want to look at in comparison to others who actually invest time and resources into designing their thumbnails, there are people who actually focus on that as their full-time job. They're individuals, they have their own companies. But an example would be Mr. Beast, who we all know he's the number one YouTuber in the world. He hires different thumbnail designers to create multiple versions of thumbnails for his videos. But he pays this person like, I don't know, tens of thousands of dollars. I want to say per thumbnail. That might sound extreme, but I know he pays them very well. And if you look at the thumbnails that his designers create, there's a reason for that. They're very creative. They've been doing it for a while. It's the only thing that they do and focus on. So when you narrow your focus onto one particular thing, then that's going to help you become better at it, right? And so that's one of the things that I've talked about recently too. In fact, there have been more people who are just, it's one of the things I talk about with YouTube. And again, this is like a sidebar because nobody's asking questions and I didn't see any links for videos to review or channels to review. So I'm going to talk and see if anybody pops in here. I'll stay for a little bit. I didn't have any time constraint, what time I actually had to leave, but thought I would just go ahead and keep talking. If anybody shows up, you have questions, feel free to ask me questions. In particular, I help women over 40 get more visibility and make more money on YouTube. Now, I always tell them they do not have to discard what they're doing on social media, meaning LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. What I do and help them with is to integrate the two so that they can make sure that they're tapping into the most money that they can possibly be making and then as many clients as possible that they can be serving. So if you're only focused on one platform, regardless of what it is, you're leaving, a huge chunk of the pie, or if you want to say you're leaving money on the table, that is a fact. So, and especially with social media, and then also if you look at social media and YouTube, they operate completely differently. And I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday about this. I was a guest on his podcast. And so we were talking about social media versus YouTube. And so the best way I can describe it is when you're thinking about it, when you go to be on social media, right, you've got your phone, you go onto LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram, you open up the app and you essentially scroll, right? And you're presented with the information based on a number of different things, but essentially it's based on your network that you've curated, right? So the people that you've chosen to connect with, either you reached out or they reached out to you, but it's your network. And then based on the algorithm and how it's working. And then your activity, of course, too. So it then serves up information to your screen for you to scroll through. Now, there's so many different things that can happen and whether you can catch something or you miss something because of the way the algorithm is set up. So if I'm connected to you and you've got something really important that you want your community to see and you're like, I'm posting it at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because that's when the majority of your audience is going to be on, let's just say LinkedIn, for example, and you post it at that time. What happens when, Vicky, who wants to see this, needs to see this, decides that she's going to get on LinkedIn at 11:30 and, take her lunch at 12. And therefore she's completely, not available at that point. And then when she gets on again, maybe later that afternoon to kind of catch up on notifications, respond to any comments, engage in content, your post that you had scheduled or posted at 12 p.m. Eastern may not and very likely will not be seen by Vicky, not only because she wasn't on at 12 p.m., but also depending on how the algorithm is working at that moment. So there's too many contingencies in how your content gets pushed out to people that you want to see it. There's a lot of uncontrollables there. And so you really feel like you're spending all of this time like, okay, well, that one didn't perform well. So let me post again. Let me post again. Let me do the right things and comment on other people's posts, then comment on other people's posts, and then come back and respond. Like it's exhausting. I mean, even just talking about it, it's exhausting. It's a game essentially. And it's a never ending game that I mean, you can look at it and say that you never win, or you can say, I win when I build my network and I connect with people and I, create relationships with people and build a real loyal community. And I help them with the products and services that I offer. And so that could be a way of looking at a win, which I completely get. I see it that way as well. But when it comes to building your network and actually networking on the platform, it's a never ending event, right? There's no end point. You just have to keep doing those things. Then you also have to stay up to date on whatever changes are happening and then changing how you create your content or the type of content or when you post or your activities and habits that you have to create in order to stay up with whatever the latest and greatest trends are with how to find and connect with new people. So there's so many unpredictable things versus when you look at how you as an individual use YouTube will help you better become a creator, help you become a better creator as well on YouTube, because the way that you use it is the way that you would create it. So an example would be if you get on YouTube and you're like, I'm searching for, we'll say the latest, I will just say Chat GPT. I don't know why that popped into my head. So we'll just say the last features or enhancements of Chat GPT, and you want to see how they work or how people are using it. So maybe you get onto YouTube and you're just like, what are the latest updates for Chat GPT, or the latest updates from Chat GPT? That would actually be what they are and how to use them in one result. So you go there, and then based on who's creating the content, that information will be served up. Now, there's obviously an algorithm in the background that's working on how and who to serve that content up to. But you as the requester are the one who's saying, give me this information. And so the algorithm is serving up popular content to you. So people who have either a large audience or a video that went viral, it's got a lot of views and comments on it. In addition to, it also serves up smaller or newer channel content, because there's this fair game of YouTube understanding that new and small creators, in order to keep them on the platform and keep them creating, which benefits YouTube and yourself as the creator, that they needed to kind of like even the playing field a little bit. So over the last year or so, they've actually been favoring, I don't want to say favoring, they've been putting more emphasis on the smaller channels and newer creators because they want to see them be successful. They want to see them find people who are a good match for their content. And so from a user perspective, that's what you're doing. You're putting in information and you're basically requesting information be sent to you or displayed on your homepage, right? So that happens. And that's completely different than social media. Social media it just is what it is whenever you happen to open the app and you start scrolling. YouTube is, I want to say demanding, just to kind of simplify the differences between the two. But instead, I'll just say that you're requesting based on the keywords in the search that you actually enter. And then based on that information, you see search results. Now, very quickly and easily, I can change what appears on my homepage on YouTube simply by changing up whatever I'm searching for. An example, and this is what I was experiencing. I'm like, why am I seeing this all the time? And it's because I was using it in my demos when I was creating programs, or if I was doing like a 2 or 3 day challenge or a workshop. And I was using in-home gardening for some reason. And so all of a sudden, because I was doing those searches, they were popping up and they were showing on my homepage. And normally it's all about like, YouTube thumbnails and how to make better thumbnails and just, the latest and greatest updates on, YouTube. So I like to keep track of all of those things. And so that kind of like threw everything off. But at the same time, it's kind of cool to see how quickly all of that can change. And you'll notice that yourself. If you go to your homepage, obviously what you're going to see are results of your past history. If you've had an account and you've searched for things, if you're brand new, when you go in there, you're not going to see anything until you actually do a search. And then that search is going to be really broad and very generic because the algorithm doesn't understand on a consistent basis yet what you're actually wanting to see. But give it like, I would say I think if you do like 5 or 6 searches in that session, you'll start to see that your homepage is very quickly going to be showing you the type of content that you've been searching on. And then if you get out and come back in, it'll start with that. So it's the difference of like on social media, it's just like you kind of get what you get. And then on YouTube, it's like, I want to get this type of information. And so it's refreshed based on the search that you're actually creating in the moment. So it's an opportunity to, I want to say, think about if you're not currently actively creating content for YouTube. And it can come in the form of live streaming, which is what I'm doing right now. I know some people prefer to go live because they don't have to worry about like the editing and the features and doing all that kind of stuff. It's a different type of interaction and preparation, right? And engagement, because you're live with people. So if people are here right now engaging, asking questions, I'd be able to pull up their comments. I could address them. I have the option to share my screen, which I was going to do if someone had a channel they wanted me to review or a thumbnail they wanted to get some help with. In addition to, and I don't know if I can do it on this plan or if I need to have an upgraded plan, but I know within Restream, which is the third-party app that I'm using right now, you can invite people to come on your show or on your live stream with you. So you can do that, at the same time too. Those are things that you can do when you're pre-planning and filming to upload, but you obviously need to have all that planned out ahead of time, right? So it's not like somebody happens to come by and see that you're creating, a video like a live stream, like what I'm doing right now. If you're going to like plan it out and record it with somebody there, all of that has to be planned out ahead of time. So that's, excuse me, one of the things that you would actually need to do ahead of time. But the differences between those are, it depends on your preference. Now, if you do like videos where there's a lot more features and there's more like B-roll, text on screen, and there's different things going on. So I would say more like I don't want to say like a TV show, but it is like a TV show or a movie, right? That's been pre-produced. And if you like that type of action and movement, not necessarily as much so as people were doing like a year and a half ago or a year ago, where there's just like so much going on. Now it's just a more simpler version of that. So you don't need as much of that, especially if you're just getting started. I know that was one of the things that held people back originally, because it was just like, oh, it just seems so overwhelming to have this overly produced video, and just knowing how to do it, planning for it, not having an editor, not knowing how to pick an editor. Like there were all of these pieces and components. So it can be super simple today. But if you're going live like I am right now, you can still do some of those things. Like I was saying, share your screen, bring people up, engage in the comments, bring the comments up. So there's different things that you can do, but this essentially as a live stream is like you're doing a live broadcast of like a newscast. You're an anchor on a TV news channel. I was trying to think, that's like old technology or old verbiage. So for you, as like getting on video, it's just a matter of what your preference is and how you're more energized to show up. Now it's interesting because I'm actually more energized live because I know that it's live. So, completely focused on my A game. People show up, leave comments, which if you're here live, feel free to leave a comment. Let me know that you're joining and where you're joining from. If you have questions, leave those in the comments too. If you're watching the replay, then feel free to leave comments or questions in the comments. And I'll answer them as soon as I see them. But being live, you almost have to like plan ahead of time to be 100% focused, right? When you're filming and you're pre-recording, all of that you just know can be edited out. So like I've lost my train of thought. My cat will do the zoomies all of a sudden, or she'll jump up behind me. She knows when I start talking that it's her cue to just like make a bunch of noise. So I've got to plan that strategically so I can edit that kind of stuff out. Now here, obviously I've made, some mess ups when I've been talking through it, but I know I'm live and it just happens. I'm human and you just go with it. But it's a different energy going live than it is when you're pre-recording. Actually, when I'm pre-recording, I feel more relaxed and not as focused. I know that seems kind of strange, but I think it's because I'm not real like strict on time. I know some people are just like, I don't have time to film my videos. And I'm like, well, I kind of have the opposite. Like I've got all kinds of time because it's just me and my cats. Like my kids are grown. They're out of the house. I'm not married. and I've chosen not to have a guy in my life. So it's interesting that it people want more time, but it's like I wish that I had other things and other people to take care of, because I loved it when I was just like super busy with other things and had my mind going in different directions, versus right now it's just 100% focused on, I don't want to say 100%, we'll say 90% focused on work, whereas the rest of the time it's just like I need to go exercise, I need to play with the cats, I need to feed the cats, that sort of thing. But um it's I enjoy it. It is a lot of fun. And what's interesting is that the live experience is, it's kind of the same but yet really different on each of the platforms. I went live 3 days today in a row on TikTok. I created a new account. And so I was like, "Oh, I can't remember what the parameters are for getting access to live streaming, but you don't have it when you first create an account." So I got a notification that I could go live, and I'm like, "Oh, I've never gone live on TikTok before, so I'm gonna go live." That's me, just test it out, see what happens. So it was interesting because it's like, people join very quickly. They see that somebody's live and they just, they're flipping through like social media, but then they see live and they click it and they join. And so it's interesting to see how quickly people like join your live stream. And so I did it 3 days in a row, but it was interesting is that it said that you need to go live 3 days. It didn't say they had to be consecutive days, but 3 different days. And you had to go live for 30 minutes total. So on each of those 3 days, if you wanted to go, 5 days, but as long as there was 30 minutes, then it like unlocked new features. And so I think I experienced what the new features were yesterday while I was actually live. And I was wondering it while it was happening because it hadn't happened on the first 2 or before that. And like all of a sudden there were like a bunch of random people requesting to join me. And I'm like, where did that come from? So I was like hitting decline, decline. I was constantly hitting decline, like a bunch of, and I'm like, I don't even know you. I don't recognize your name. So of course I'm not going to bring you up. So it can be fun. I think you just have to be open to the opportunity of what it makes available to you and the connection it can create with the people on the other end. And so it can be really effective. It meaning live streaming can be really effective from that standpoint because you're live. It's as if you're face to face. Obviously, you're not face to face. Can be, but it's like second best, right? So you have the dedicated attention where you can engage with people, ask them questions. When they get the answer, they can ask follow-up questions. So there's a lot of benefits to doing live streaming, regardless of the platform. Obviously, I've done more live streaming on YouTube than I have any other platform. And like I said at the very beginning, is this the first time I've used Restream? And I think I did the same thing when I used StreamYard for the first time, is that I had scheduled it. And I thought I had scheduled it, which I can see it here. It's scheduled. It even has today's date and today's time, but it's still sitting there. And so I was in Restream and it said that my channel wasn't connected. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'll I'll connect my channel. No big deal. And so I connected it. When I hit go live, it created a new stream. So I think it did the same thing on StreamYard. So I'll have to figure out like what I did wrong or what I missed and how I created 2 separate ones. But it is what it is. If you don't have any questions, I think I'm going to go ahead and go. I know I've just been talking to be talking, but what time is it? 12:25. Yeah, I was going to go for 30 minutes. So that's pretty close. Yeah. I think that's it. I haven't seen any questions come through. If you have, let me see. I'm going to go in here real quick. I think I see the option. It says chat, and I don't see anything in chat. So, yeah, there's no questions. If you have questions and you're here live, go ahead and drop them in the chat. If not, and you're watching the replay, then leave questions in the comments, and then I will respond to them as soon as I see them. But I don't see anything coming through. So, what does this say? Overlay. I'm just gonna click this and see what happens. Oh, there we go. That's the comment I have right now. It's from Restream. Never miss a comment. Click on the chat message to display. I wonder what this is then. Maybe if the chat's going, no comments will. Huh. Interesting. All right. Well, I'll try it again some other time. I'll work out that bug with how I created 2 different streams. But yeah, I mean, I had a good experience with Restream. It seemed pretty intuitive, very similar to StreamYard. The reason why I changed though is that someone I'm connected to on LinkedIn, Brenda Meller Marketing, who's phenomenal. If you're on LinkedIn and want a really good, highly connected, very helpful person who knows LinkedIn in and out, she's your person to connect to. So Brenda Meller, Meller. I think it was her and I that were having this conversation about Restream versus StreamYard, and she had mentioned that Restream was really good, and StreamYard had like taken away some features or moved them to the paid version, so it wasn't as intuitive or as I guess nice to use. And so I'm like, okay, cool. I'd obviously heard of Restream, so I'm like, I'm going to give Restream a try. So I've used it on LinkedIn just to test it out. So this was the first time I'd used it on YouTube, and it seems to have a lot of the features that StreamYard had when I first, got into StreamYard way back when. I think that was back in 2000. I want to say 2020, 2021, something like that. It's really fun to use. I love the fact that you can do this and do the screen sharing, which is really helpful when you want to do channel reviews or thumbnail feedback or just share anything in general on your screen. I love doing that. And then when comments come through too, showing those on screen, it's always fun. But Brenda had told me that this was a really good alternative and that they had a lot of features in the free version. And I don't go live enough to actually upgrade on the streaming platform to, get rid of the Restream and all of that. If I did, I definitely would do that. But I just go live, to just make myself available for people who want to ask questions, from someone who understands YouTube. And if you're just getting started or as a small channel and have questions with YouTube, like where to get started, where's the best place to start. I've had quite a few questions recently too about channel names and what should your channel name be? And actually I have a video on my YouTube channel. Let's see if I can find it real quick, because that question was coming up probably a couple of months ago. And I was just like, I'm going to create a video on that because people were asking questions. I'm like, let's just make this super simple. So if anyone had questions, then it would just obviously be there. So it's called choosing your channel name. And I'm going to pull it up, and just in case anyone watches I think the chat will show up in the replay, but I'm going to put this in the comments. See what happens when I do that. Yeah, there we go. So this is I guess I could pull it up. It's the choosing your channel name. Can I add a thumbnail or an image? I think I can. Let's see. Nope. All right. Well, here's the link. Not that it says anything, but I can bring it up on screen again. So that's pretty cool. All right, cool. All right, well, thanks for being here. If you were here live, I know sometimes people show up live and not leave questions or comments or anything to let me know that they're here. So that's fine. I can see the numbers up in the left-hand corner, so I know that, people have popped in and out. I don't know if it's the same person or not, but that's okay. Hopefully it's given you something to think about, something of value. I know I didn't go deep dive into any one thing in particular. I was kind of relying on questions and people bringing channels or thumbnails for me to review. So I was just kind of riffing, but I can do that too. I can go all day talking about YouTube. So, all right, cool. Well, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. If you're watching the replay, thank you so much for watching the replay. And if you're new here, feel free to subscribe to the channel, because then you'll get notified when I go live. I'm not, like I said, I'm not going live on a consistent basis. I just go live whenever. Or if I have something coming up that I want to talk about or get feedback on or announce, that sort of thing, I will. But as of right now, there's no set schedule. So the best thing to do at this point is to subscribe to my channel, and then you'll be notified when I do go live. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. And also look around my channel to see what else is available. If there's any one thing in particular, like how to plan your videos, best practices for getting on camera, building confidence on camera, how to get your first 100,000 views. Like I've got all kinds of videos on here to help you either get started with YouTube or really build momentum, how to convert viewers into buyers. I've got quite a few videos on here about that, how to build your authority. So definitely take a look around. There's plenty of things there. And if there's something you're just like, I don't see what I'm looking for, let me know. And I'm always open to making videos too. That's actually how I've made some of my videos, is based on comments from other videos or people ask, like I said, asking questions about the channel name. That's what inspired that particular video. So I'm always up for helping. And if there's something I can help you with, just let me know. All right. Thanks and make today great.